Now this painting demonstration of a pair of Kittiwakes on Bempton Cliffs is actually a heavily edited version of the full-length video tutorial that I recently did as a live stream event to my Patreon tier. So if you want to check out the full version, check out Patreon. Alrighty, so what I did was I had a few thumbnails and a little play about. And it was just an idea to sort of how I wanted now. These are fairly straightforward birds to paint. They are clinging to their nest on the edge of the cliff, full of guano and dead grass, because that's what they build their nest with, the grasses. You see all the birds, including the gannets, the puffins, everyone mowing the lawns on the top of the cliffs every season to line their nests. So, and then I moved them across a little bit, and then I made them much smaller in the picture to allow for more of this. But then I realized there's not an awful lot of interest in the cliffs at all. So, you know, it's not as though there's a bit of grass in the background, a bit of sky, a bit of sea or anything like that. So I then went to this format and looked at that, and I felt that the birds really, it's just too much and not enough on this side. So I ended up here, and I then cut a little bit off the side because I needed to bring the tail or the edge towards the tail a little bit more and a little bit more in front. So when you've got a bird primarily or any animal facing one way, human or anything else, even a vehicle going along the road, you always try and put less behind it and more in front, so it shows the viewer which direction it's going in. So by keeping this fairly dry and just blotching out through here, I'm not worried at all if I cover every single part of the background color, this peachy color. I'm not painting that great big lump of rock that comes out through here, which is much closer out of focus. So I'm coming around here, and I'm going to make a distinction between the edge of the nest, which is pretty much glued to the side of the chalk. Now my first thoughts when I was doing this background was to actually not paint it all the way out to the edges, almost making a bit of a cameo of the two birds. However, wait to the end and just see what transpired and what I ended up doing. But it's not my first thoughts, I can assure you of that. So what I'm doing now is the warm colors of the nest, and they really complement the grays of the chalk wall. So let's start putting the birds in. We'll come back to this in a little while. Clean my brush thoroughly because I do want some pure colors, and I'm going to sort of get out a lump of white, a little bit of the liquid just to make that move around a little bit more. And I'm just going to come in here and plant it in certain places. Now I'm going to make a different color value for the shadowy part of the bird. Just want to get this statement of white light in on the bird's chest and on the head. Now to that I'm going to add in just a pop. I didn't get any. There we go. I just want the merest touch. More than a touch is going to be too much. Oh, there was just a sneaky bit just got in there. You can see how that yellow is just altered enough to get away with that. One of many things that I love when it comes to painting any type of seabird is the contrast between the bodies of the whites and the lovely subtle colors of white that you see in the plumage and the normal darker wings, the grays, the violets, and all of that. And it really does make the project of painting seabirds extremely interesting, something that I can never ever shy away from trying and seeing if I can manage it. I'm trying not to make this go too brown. It's becoming too samey to the background. I don't want that. So I'm going to work on that now. I wanted that grey, warmer grey on this colour, but that's just too dull. So let's just bring that back into play. And back in with a little bit more yellow in my white. Just a little bit thick there. Just bringing back some of that, softening that a little bit more. So what I'm doing here is literally softening out some of the forms and the shapes, making a softer bleed between the transitions of the white and the shadow colors. I'm also adding in some of the initial colors for the beak, the darks, and I'm saving the yellower colors until later on. I just want to establish the shape, the form, and the overall tone. Okay, that works. We'll leave that like that and we'll come back on that. So let's start looking at this grey color. So how do we make our grey? Well, look, to me that colour, certainly on the bird in the foreground, is somewhat mauvey coloured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some ultramarine blue. I'm using a bit of that green in there. I'm not too worried because we're going to use a little bit of the quinacridone magenta into that to make a bit of a grungy grey colour. Look at that yellow that's tempering that purple. That's the fresh purple. We don't want to use that. And let's look at our grey. So I was tempering this grey in here for these birds. And a little bit of yellow going into it too, that we make a sort of greenish grey. It's a lovely colour. And I want to soften the edges into the white. So I'm going to tease them together a little bit just to suggest that the white feathers are coming over the top of these ones. What I mentioned to you earlier about the lovely contrast between the white plumage on many seabirds and then the darker colors of the wings and the rest of the body, this is just that example. The beautiful violet black colors of the Kittiwakes wing plumage set against the wonderful color transitions of their white plumage. Right, let's come in with some more of that white. I'm going to put a bit of yellow to that. I want to put down quite a bright statement around the back end of this bird for the wing that's sticking out there. Cut round that, cut round the tail. I think my tail's a little bit too rounded and there's a little bit of feather underneath, so I want to keep that a little bluer than the white of the cliff. I'm going to bring that into there. Take that down slowly and come out to that shape. Now that shape does break into another fissure, which is through here. I'll take that paint off a little bit. It sort of pops out at a funny angle on the cliff there. Alright, so let's look more at putting some lights and darks in there. We're pretty much, apart from that area we have blocked in, but now I'm starting to look and put in a little bit more light in places and just play around with some secondary layers over the first layer. So I'm adding in some subtle lights into some of this, but not too much. Looking at using some of the darks already there to create the fissures in the stone. I need to bring in a little bit of dark here and there as well, not forgetting too much of that. So I'm using my darks as my burnt sienna, my ultramarine blue primarily, and just bringing in a few straggly bits of dark into some of the cracks in the stone. Remember what I said near the beginning where I was going to fade out the rocks to the edges of the painting? Well, this is the start of where I changed my mind. I really like the intricate patterns of the rock or the chalk without actually going into too much detail, but I'm starting to explore some of the shapes and the forms within it. I'll bring some nice bright colour down through here to make that edge of that nest stand up or stand out.
a bit of shadow down that part of the rock. Again, I am not trying to make this go hugely detailed out to the outer parts. That's gone a little bit green, didn't mean that. A little bit of red into that, just to knock that to a grey. The green and the red will make a grey, so that's okay. No problems with that. And I'm going to lay some of this colour in to suggest a bit of guano on the edges.
At this point I realised that the feet were almost invisible underneath the bird in the photo, so I had to almost invent the feet and the way it was standing. I had a vague representation of it, but it did really work out quite nicely.
And we've got that sort of cagey, greeny, darker colour, grungier colour. A bit more blue into there. Not too much, taking the worst off my paint brush. A little bit more yellow to it as it goes down in here. And a little bit towards the bottom too. Okay, so now we have got a dart. We're going to put that breathe hole there. That looks so much farther forward than the other one, but I'm sure it must be right.
And pretty much in this part of the painting, a lot of the groundwork has been done. The blocking is complete, and I'm starting to go over areas that I've already done with finer details. Smaller brush, more considered brush marks and color marks, and everything is being looked at a lot more than just going in with a basic color. I'm adding finer details over the whole body and assessing everything as I go.
I'll put the dark in before I put the white in because it's easier to get around that, but if you put the black over a white color, you'll end up with just a gray, and you don't want that either. So I'm coming in here now, picking up a little bit of the liquid to make it move easy, and I'm just going to come through here now with bringing some of this color in. Easier to do it this way than just say try and put in a black over your white. You'll end up with a huge mess.
So now I'm sort of adding some more subtle changes to the rocks and filling out the remainder of the area towards the edge of the board. I'm also looking at contrast changes between the black feather tips of the wings and the white rocks behind them. I'm warming up some of the shadows, and I'm just generally looking at the whole thing and hopefully bringing it closer and closer to a final conclusion. Adding in some lights and darks and contrasts on the nest, but basically I'm looking at the whole painting and assessing the whole image as I go.
The other thing I quite like about this is making some of these rock shapes come in almost like a funnel, almost like the way you're seeing this picture. It's sort of suggesting lead-in lines this way, so bringing them here like this rock is bearing out this way towards us, and equally as much the other way, coming in and down this way to suggest the way that the rock is sort of growing up out of the earth hundreds of feet below. Be careful that I don't break my rule that I was going to just not go too deep in detail at this point. Almost going to go too much. Just going to tap that down there. Got some nice little white bars on this bird. You can just see a little slither through there on that one. And there's another one down here. And then a little bit the one there. Now I am going to go back in and make that on the wrong colour. A little bit of the lemon, a little bit of the white just to temper that. So I'll come in here and just build out that beak a little further.
So before I go much further with this video, I'd just like to say a great big thank you to all the subscribers on this channel. I'm well over 32,000 subscribers now, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your support over the last few years. Now, that said, many of you who do watch this are not actually subscribed to the channel. That would really help me if you guys who are not subscribed click that subscribe button and the bell icon and the notification tab. It really does help the channel grow and reach a much wider audience around the world who, just like you guys, would like to learn to paint. Indeed, if you really want to help the channel grow even more, then share this video to your friends. If you know somebody who would like to learn to paint, share the video, let them know about it. Also, if you like to comment on this, and one thing I'd ask you, this video represents a little bit of a different change in the way I present. In other words, I've gone out with the cameras, taken some bird pictures with my cameras, come back with the chosen one to paint it. If you like that new style, please let me know in the comments your thoughts, what you would like me to do in the future. All of these things are fantastic to hear and listen to, and I'll always respond to any comments that I get in my videos.
Making some of these go away. But be careful. This is going and the same way as the head. And it's in the picture, but if you follow it too closely, like I've just nearly done, you start creating a line that would almost go around the bird. So make it go through the back of the bird's head. Just change its direction a little bit. And I think you get away with that. I'm going to use it there just to bring it out. That way, the other side of the head. If I do some more to this over the next week, I am very busy this week, so the chances are I may not get to it, but if I can, I will. I think it would just enhance the painting a little bit more and make it very saleable. So on that note, I'm going to probably stop here.
And just very quickly to end, if you want to see the full version of this painting or indeed any other of my tutorial full lessons, then please, why don't you pop on over to my Patreon, where there is so much more on offer. Over 200 full-length videos on wildlife and landscape painting in many different media, with over 40 different live streams, a great community, and you'll be so welcome, and I look forward to seeing you guys over there at some point in the near future.
So much for me wanting to do a very, very speedy, loose painting. That went out the window, didn't it?